What movie scene made you yell, "That's not how that works," at the TV? Story 1. I spent years around firearms, and movies absolutely refuse to admit guns are loud as hell, especially indoors. Every action movie has people unloading rifles in tiny hallways, cars, basements, no ear protection, no reaction, just casually continuing conversations afterward like they didn't just detonate thunder directly into their skulls. Man, one gunshot inside a room will rearrange your ancestors. Your ears don't ring a little. Your hearing leaves the chat entirely. You're standing there, blinking like a confused golden retriever, while everything turns into high-pitched microwave screaming for the next hour. Movies always got dudes firing pistols in cars too. Inside cars. Brother, that first shot would have everybody temporarily deaf and spiritually separated from their body. Nobody's delivering cool one-liners after that. The whole crew would just be yelling, "What?" at each other, while tinnitus installs itself permanently like malware. And suppressors? Don't even start. Hollywood turns them into tiny magic whisper tubes. Pft, pft, pft. Nah, suppressed guns are still loud. It's more industrial nail gun from hell than stealth assassin library mode. Somebody nearby is absolutely hearing it. Real gunfights would honestly look less cool and more like people panicking, deafened, and trying to remember why the floor suddenly smells like hot pennies and bad decisions. Story 2. I work cybersecurity, so every movie hacking scene feels like watching somebody's grandma describe the internet after getting hit with anesthesia. The visuals? Incredible. Gorgeous little neon graphics flying everywhere. Absolute aquarium screensaver energy. But the actual hacking? Complete nonsense. Movie hackers type like they're being hunted for sport, just violently assaulting the keyboard at 400 words per minute, while windows pop up screaming, "Accessing mainframe," which, by the way, nobody says in real life anymore unless they're trapped in a 1997 fax machine commercial. And there's always that one line, "I'm in." In what? You opened 6 spinning cubes and a skull icon. Congratulations, you hacked geometry. Real hacking is way more depressing. It's usually some exhausted dude staring at logs for 9 hours because Greg from accountant clicked hot singles near you.exe again. Or somebody forgot to patch a server for 3 years because updating might break something. That's cyber warfare, human laziness, not techno-wizard battles. But I'll give the animation teams credit, man. They make it look sick. If real cybersecurity looked like movie hacking, I'd never leave my desk. Instead, it's mostly terminals, documentation, caffeine abuse, and whispering, "What idiot configured this?" at 2 a.m. while your soul slowly exits through your hoodie. Story 3. I used to do HVAC maintenance, and every movie air vent scene sends me into a spiritual crisis. They got people crawling through ventilation shafts in crisp white shirts, looking mildly inconvenienced, then popping out spotless like they just took a brisk little tunnel tour at Disney World. Absolutely not. Real air vents are disgusting, like biblically dusty. You crawl through one actual commercial duct for 10 seconds and come out looking like you lost a fist fight in a chimney. Dust, insulation, fuzz, mystery sludge, dead bugs, screws, probably a French fry from 2009 somehow still hanging on for dear life. Your lungs immediately start negotiating terms with your body. And the noise. Movies always got stealthy little vent crawls where nobody notices. Buddy, those metal ducts sound like a shopping cart falling downstairs every time you shift your weight. One knee movement and the whole building hears clang. Somewhere, a maintenance guy immediately looks up like, "What idiot is dying in my ductwork?" Also, half those vents couldn't even support a human. You put a grown adult in there, and it folds like a cheap lawn chair. Congratulations! Now, you're not escaping, you're trapped above a conference room, bleeding through ceiling tiles, while accounting stares at your leg dangling from the fluorescent lights. Movie vents got the structural integrity of military bunkers and the cleanliness of operating rooms. Real vents are basically aluminum haunted houses, full of dust and regret. Story 4. I work with commercial glazing and safety glass, so every movie window scene feels like watching physics get mugged in broad daylight. They always have some dude dramatically diving through a skyscraper window shoulder first, like he's made of titanium. Brother, modern high-rise glass would humble you instantly. You're not bursting through that thing heroically. You're bouncing off it like a confused pigeon with a concussion. That glass is engineered specifically to not do movie nonsense. Tempered and laminated safety glass is insanely strong. People in films hit it once and explode through in this beautiful shower of razor shards like a champagne flute got dropped at a wedding. Real safety glass doesn't even break like that. First off, the sound is wrong every single time. Hollywood uses the same delicate noise from somebody breaking a wine glass in a sink. Actual safety glass breaking is loud and ugly, more like a violent crunch pop explosion that makes everybody nearby immediately go, oh shit, and tempered glass breaks into little chunky pebble bits, not giant knife shards designed for cinematic back wounds. Laminated glass often just spider webs and stays together like an angry, transparent trampoline, which honestly makes action scenes funnier in my head now. Imagine the hero sprinting full speed at a skyscraper window expecting dramatic escape energy, and instead just pancaking against reinforced glass while security guards stare in silence from across the lobby. Story 5. I work in tech, and movies make software development look like wizard combat for beautiful geniuses. Some hacker-looking dude in a dark room types aggressively for 30 seconds, windows fly around dramatically, and suddenly he's built a fully functional app that can track satellites, hack governments, and probably cure seasonal depression. Meanwhile, there's dubstep playing for some reason. Real coding is significantly less sexy. It's mostly staring at the same 6 lines of code until your brain turns into warm yogurt. Then, after 4 hours of suffering, you realize the entire issue was one missing semicolon or an extra comma hiding like a tiny little cyber terrorist. And the typing kills me. Movie programmers absolutely maul keyboards, just clacking away at 900 miles an hour while saying stuff like, I'm rewriting the encryption layer. Brother, half my actual workday is Googling error messages written by some exhausted developer in 2013 named Vlad, who solved the exact same problem and vanished into the mist afterward. Plus, nobody in movies ever tests anything. They hit enter once and boom, flawless app deployment. No bugs, no version conflicts, no package dependency spontaneously exploding because one library updated itself at 2 a.m. and chose violence. Real development is just, why is the button blue? It shouldn't be blue. Why is the entire page gone now? Honestly, if Hollywood portrayed coding accurately, it'd just be a sleep-deprived person whispering, what the f*** every 15 minutes while reopening Stack Overflow for the 8th time. Story 6. I'm an electrician, and even I'm out here defending sprinkler fitters every time movies pull that nonsense, where somebody flicks a Bic lighter under one sprinkler head, and suddenly the entire building turns into SeaWorld. Every floor, every room, water everywhere, computers exploding, people screaming. That is not how sprinkler systems work, man. Most sprinkler heads trigger individually. The little glass bulb pops from heat, that specific head activates, and that's it. Unless the fire spreads. Otherwise, every burnt piece of toast in an office kitchen would flood 6 stories and bankrupt a law firm by Tuesday afternoon. But Hollywood loves this scene. Some idiot holds a lighter under a sprinkler for 3 seconds, which already takes way longer than movies pretend. And suddenly Niagara Falls erupts from every ceiling tile in the county. Meanwhile, I'm on my couch yelling like a divorced dad watching football, and nobody talks about the sprinkler water either. That water sitting in those pipes? Nasty, black, rusty, smells like Satan's aquarium filter. You don't want that blasting onto your wedding reception because Ethan Hunt needed a distraction. Realistically, if one head went off accidentally, the maintenance crew would just appear instantly from some hidden dimension, muttering, "Who touched the f***ing sprinkler?" while carrying buckets and looking spiritually exhausted. Story 7. I grew up around mechanics and did stunt rigging work for a hot minute, so every movie car jump instantly turns me into the world's angriest physics teacher. They'll launch a stock Dodge Charger across a 40-foot gap, land nose first on concrete, and then keep driving like they just hit a speed bump outside a Taco Bell. Absolutely not. That car is done. Suspension exploded, axles snapped, oil pan cracked open like an egg, radiator dumped its guts everywhere. Half the underside is now legally classified as loose debris. But Hollywood drivers always land clean and immediately crank the wheel into a drift while shifting 18 times for dramatic reasons. Bro, the airbags alone would have detonated hard enough to give everybody a concussion and a lifelong fear of dashboard plastic And don't get me started on transmissions. You ever accidentally hit a pothole too hard in real life? Suddenly your alignment's crooked and the steering wheel points toward Cincinnati for no reason. But movie cars can survive falling off parking garages like they're built from Nokia phone parts. Meanwhile, if I tried 1/10 of that stunt in my actual car, the suspension would exit the vehicle spiritually before I even landed. Tow truck driver would show up laughing before I climbed out the window. Story 8. I worked in data centers for years, and every movie data theft scene makes me want to lie down on the floor dramatically. They always have some spy sneaking into a server room, yanking out like 2 hard drives, stuffing them into a backpack, and are running off like they just stole the nuclear launch codes. Congrats, man. You probably stole 14% of a spreadsheet and 3 corrupted cat videos. That's not how enterprise storage works. Data's spread across multiple drives, arrays, backups, redundancy systems. The whole point is making sure one drive failing doesn't nuke everything. You can't just grab 2 random drives from a rack and magically own the company now. Realistically, you just cause several admins to get angry Slack notifications at 2 a.m. And movies always make data centers look like glowing sci-fi cathedrals too. Blue lights everywhere, dramatic steam for some reason, servers making spaceship noises. Real data centers are mostly loud, freezing cold, and filled with exhausted people labeling cables while quietly questioning their life decisions. Also, nobody's casually walking into one wearing a hoodie. Those places track everything. Access logs, cameras, badges, biometrics sometimes. You can't just Mission Impossible your way past security and start unplugging equipment like you're choosing apples at a grocery store. Meanwhile, the real terror in IT isn't espionage. It's one tired employee accidentally deleting the wrong virtual machine while saying, "Oh no," in the calmest voice imaginable. Story 9. I work trauma medicine, and movie gunshot scenes make me feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience. Every single time somebody gets shot, there's immediately some dramatic, "we gotta get the bullet out" panic, like the slug itself is a ticking poison capsule slowly infecting their vibes. No, that's not the problem. The problem is the bullet punched through organs, arteries, bowel, lung tissue. You know, the important parts humans typically prefer intact. We're trying to stop bleeding and repair damage, not digging around in somebody's meat like we lost car keys in a couch cushion. Half the time leaving the bullet alone is safer. Going fishing for it can do way more damage than the bullet already did. But movies got random civilians sterilizing tweezers with whiskey and excavating bullets from shoulder wounds in abandoned warehouses like they're performing pirate surgery in 1842. Meanwhile, the patient is somehow conscious, flirting, and sweating attractively. And Hollywood acts like once the bullet pops out, the person immediately levels up to full health. Dude was internally bleeding 30 seconds ago, but now he's jogging? Fantastic. Amazing recovery. Somebody call medical science because apparently all trauma care needed this whole time was pliers and friendship. Story 10. I design industrial equipment, so giant action movies basically turned me into the most annoying person alive during fight scenes. Everybody else is cheering while I'm sitting there whispering, that structure would catastrophically fail immediately. Like a haunted engineering textbook. Like when Superman catches a sinking ship or a falling airplane by one tiny section. No, he doesn't. He punches straight through it with physics. Steel's strong, sure, but it's not magic. Those loads have to distribute somewhere. If you grab a massive ship from one point underneath, congratulations. You've just invented the world's most expensive banana peel. That hull is buckling in half instantly. Same with planes. The fuselage would rip apart around him like wet cardboard wrapped around a bowling ball. And don't even get me started on Pacific Rim using an entire cargo ship as a baseball bat. Brother, that ship would fold itself into modern art the second the robot lifted it sideways from one end. Cargo ships are designed for buoyancy and distributed loads, not being wielded by Gundam King Kong during an ocean fistfight. Hollywood treats steel like it's Lego plastic. Real engineers watch these scenes sweating softly while mentally calculating shear forces against our will. I can't even enjoy superhero rescues anymore without my brain turning into an OSHA seminar.